Sports Media Podcast. This is the SmackDown results and review for last night, Friday, May 2nd, live from Des Moines, Iowa in the Wells Fargo Arena. Big push to 5,000. We are closing in on that massive goal for us here at Sleeper Sports Media. We got a bunch of stuff to go over for last night's SmackDown episode. Backlash is just right around the corner. The build to this has been so far so good, pretty good here and there. Yes and no, not great, not terrible, kind of in between. No Cody Rhodes as of late. Last 2 weeks he's not been on the show, was removed from being advertised on the show, and is supposed to be on the show next week, the Friday night, or the next week, Friday night after Backlash. We get Cody Rhodes back, according to the website and the ticket section on WWE.com. We got a big, chaotic main event tag match that went down tonight, the U.S. title update, and Jade and Tiffany, they get a big time win over Nia and Naomi. Also, Randy Orton promises to punt John Cena into retirement once and for all in St. Louis at Backlash. More on that coming up later. But before we get into and start all of this, once again, subscribe to Sleeper Sports Media on YouTube, also on TikTok and Facebook, and full-length articles on Patreon and NoDirtSheets.com. Everything will be in the description and all that good stuff. We are going to jump right on into it. Here we go. All right. To start off SmackDown, we did have on the card live and in action tonight Randy Orton, Jacob Fatu, Aleister Black, of course, Tiffany Stratton, Bianca Belair, and LA Knight. Yeah. Kick things off, we get LA Knight coming out to cut a promo. My guess that they did the really good job of this because right after this kicked off the show, this was the opening, ended up being the opening match. Damian Priest would also come out looking emotional, of course, after the round of releases that went down yesterday. Caden Carter and Katana Chance being two of the list of talent that was released yesterday. Damian Priest came right on out, looked emotional. A lot of people picked up on that, and we got LA Knight versus Damian Priest right out of the gates. It ended in a no contest after Solo Sikoa and both Jacob Fatu also would interfere, make their presence known, and that is what leads us into the final go through and final announcement for the U.S. title being a fatal four-way at Backlash. More on that later on at Backstage segment. Just to clear it out and get it out of the way, there was Backstage segment with Solo, Jacob, and Nick Aldis, and Solo pointed out that McIntyre is actually the number one contender for the U.S. Championship. So Nick Aldis made it official. We do have LA Knight, Damian Priest, Jacob Fatu versus Drew McIntyre. And Fatu simply had this to say: all gas, no brakes. Anyone you put in the ring, I'm a dog walk their ass. So we are all steams ahead and all things go towards the fatal four-way for the U.S. title at Backlash. Second match on the card tonight, we had a tag team action. Fraxium back in action on SmackDown after officially being called up and acknowledged that they are officially called up by Nick Aldis, the SmackDown general manager, who did announce this match on Twitter right before the show did jump off and get started. They would beat Pretty Deadly, Fraxium 2-0 on the main roster right now. Another backstage segment that involved Nick Aldis, B-Fab, Meechin, and then eventually the Secret Hervis and Chelsea Green would make their way into, and we would set up Chelsea Green and her minions being out there ringside, Alba Fire and Chelsea Green being ringside for Piper Niven taking on Zelina Vega. Zelina Vega would defeat Piper Niven in a really great match that probably shocked a lot of people. But my only issue with this one was that Wade Barrett, after Vega won, Wade Barrett and Joe Tessitore were still making this seem like Vega was the underdog, even though she's the champion. And Piper Niven, I mean, it's two steps forward, one step back with the U.S. the women's U.S. title and the women's IC title. Nick Aldis made a point to say If Piper were to win, she would be next in line for a title shot. If she were to win the title, then Chelsea could get it back by facing her, whatever it was. But Vega does pick up the win in a non-title match at that. Next up, we would have Nia Jax making her way to the ring to call out the Women's World Champion, Tiffany Stratton, who wasted no time in answering the call. And shortly thereafter, Naomi, Jade Cargill, they join the action. And then Nick Aldis, channeling his inner Teddy Long, gives us a tag match, which does have the Can They Coexist angle. And as Tessitore, as Wade Barrett mentioned in the beginning of the show, the supposed main event, Priest and LA Knight, did happen and open the show. This would eventually be our main event, and it would be a great main event at that. Also announced in the mix of this one later in the show, as we got into the match, they did announce that Jade Cargill did announce that her versus Nia Jax for the number one contendership next week on SmackDown before Backlash. Winner will then face Tiffany Stratton for the WWE Women's Championship. Other matches on the card, we did have a singles match. Aleister Black, his first match in a WWE ring since October of 2020. He takes on and defeats The Miz. While, to point out to here, The Miz does absolutely have no problem putting over young talent, returning talent, or just needing to be the enhancement part to make a return match look good. Shout out to The Miz and being a true professional as he always is. Santos Escobar versus Rey Fenix was also made official for tonight, and Rey Fenix did pick up the win. And then we did see backstage after the match, Andrade was seen with Legado del Fantasma. While we couldn't understand a single word that was said in this backstage segment, but something was going on. Andrade still being around in the shuffle of things in this mid-card division. I would love to see him get back to being in the U.S. title picture, since it has been some time. He did feud with Carmelo Hayes for a while, 7 matches those two had. Both Carmelo Hayes and Andrade were holding it down on SmackDown up until they did throw a little bit more talent in the mix. Mid-card division on SmackDown, to me, is the best division in this entire company right now, and that the United States Championship is probably the most prestigious title that we do have in the WWE currently. LA Knight, former champion, holding it down with 25 matches on the year, and he has absolutely been a workhorse for the WWE this year. He deserves a world title, as does, I would love to see Andrade get in more serious feuds and not just backstage segments. And even more, I'd open to giving a chance to the other mid-card talent and get them more in the mix and just have different matches and change things up a little bit. Like I said earlier in the video, we did get another backstage segment with Priest, or not Priest, but with Aldis, Solo, and Jacob, where he did announce that it would be a triple threat at Backlash of Knight, Priest, and Fatu, and then Solo demanded answers, saying that McIntyre was actually the number one contender for the United States Championship. Boom. McIntyre's added. It's now a 4-way, and their Solo said, "You're trying to screw Jacob out of the title," and Aldis quickly replied with, "No, Solo, you are." So I was shocked that they didn't just go ahead and add Solo to this match and make it a fatal 5-way at this point, or even throw that sucker on up top over a ladder and have a ladder match on Backlash. I mean, they did not miss with the TLC match last week on SmackDown with for the tag titles, which was interesting that the Street Profits, all those teams that were in that TLC match last week were not on the show at all. Nonetheless, fatal 4-way at Backlash for the United States Championship. Going to be a lot of fun watching these four in this match. Can't wait. Jacob Fatu already off to a beast of a title run, hopefully successfully defending his U.S. Championship in a fatal 4-way, running through all 4 of these guys. At this point, it looks like, man, it's a tough one to look at and to think about who's going to take the pin here. McIntyre coming off a win. Jacob Fatu coming off a win at WrestleMania, so Priest and LA Knight both coming off of losses. They have more to lose in this sense, because a loss here probably pushes them to the back of the line for this U.S. Championship. You could have Fatu once again pin LA Knight, and then McIntyre and Priest continue their feud. There's a lot that could go down. Fatu with the 130% chance that he could lose the title. Winding down here for SmackDown last night, we did have Randy Orton come out. He was live, still referencing Cena's heel turn, talking about a whole lot of nothing, trying to get the crowd hyped up. They are really leaning into this face turn for Randy Orton, and I think they could be setting something up for Randy Orton as a massive face to have Cody Rhodes return at Backlash and cost him the title in his hometown. Really, really, really sinking their teeth into finally turning Cody Rhodes heel. Like I said, he is, as per the ticket section on the WWE.com and the WWE website, he is advertised for the SmackDown after Backlash. What better way to have him come back than turning heel against Randy Orton, setting up that feud? They don't really need the title at this point. Cena can kind of do his thing. Don't know where he goes after Orton. My guess and my pick would be Cena does retain because of a Cody Rhodes return at Backlash and costing Orton the title. Orton also does promise to punt kick Cena and send him into retirement early. At this point, they could set that punt kick up. The lights go out. Cody returns or do whatever they're going to do. But I see Cody Rhodes returning at Backlash, costing Orton the title and the match. And then we finally get heel Cody Rhodes. After Randy Orton did his massive promo and push towards Backlash, we did finally get to our main event of the night. We had a tag team match. Can they coexist? Tiffany Stratton, Jade Cargill versus Nia Jax and Naomi. At first, whenever I saw this and they had announced that Jade and Nia would have a number one contendership match on next week's episode of SmackDown, I thought for sure Naomi was going to be the one to take the pin here, as horrible as that sounds, and it seems to be a recurring theme with the WWE not being able to just give Naomi wins and give her flowers and what she is due, what she has been putting in the work for. But Jade Cargill does get the pin over Nia Jax, and now again we do have those two in a number one contenders match next week on SmackDown. So again, my thought here, why would you not have Jade come out and say whoever gets the pin for their team would be the number one contender for Tiffany's title? I guess that could be a little confusing since Tiffany could be in that decision. But Jade, they could have taken the time to explain it. Aldis told me if it's between me, you, and Naomi, whoever out of the three of us, whoever gets the pin would be in a number one contenders match. And then you could kind of navigate and swing it and make it so whoever didn't get pinned would then also be in the match. In this sense, I don't know why they're not doing Jade and Naomi 2 on SmackDown next week for the number one contendership in a steel cage match or something. Nia Jax eating the pin and then being right back in a title, potentially knocking on the doors of another title shot. Don't like that. While Naomi, especially because Naomi was the one standing tall as SmackDown went off the air. But nonetheless, Jade and Tiffy get the win. SmackDown goes off air. Naomi attacking Jade and standing tall, holding the title as the women's main event scene on SmackDown continues to be one of the better ones in the entire company. That's going to be a wrap on this episode of SmackDown. We take a look next Friday, May 9th, from Dayton, Ohio, for Friday Night SmackDown, the go-home show before Backlash. We do have the number one contenders match next week for Tiffany Stratton's WWE Women's Championship on the go-home episode of Friday Night SmackDown before Backlash. I don't know why they wouldn't just have done this week and then, or even said the winner would get that title shot at Backlash. Right now, the Backlash card only officially has 4 matches. I believe 5 after this Monday when they officially announced Logan and Jay for Backlash. At least I hope they would announce that for Backlash. It would be kind of cool to finally see both titles on the card again. for PLE. But nonetheless, Jade Cargill, Nia Jax next week, number one contenders, live from Dayton, Ohio. Next week on SmackDown, the go-home show before Backlash, we also get John Cena returning to SmackDown from Dayton. WWE Champion is live. John Cena back on SmackDown. One of his last 30-something dates, whatever it is at this point. We continue this magical run of John Cena's 17-time run, final time as a heel. And in another Can They Coexist angle type tag match, we have a tag match, Night Priest, Fatu Sikoa, ahead of their big fatal four-way. Will McIntyre make his presence known? Will McIntyre show up and make this officially make this a five-way, adding Solo Sikoa into the mix and officially adding him into the match at Backlash next Saturday, May 10th. We find out next week in Dayton after we watch and see what happens with the tag match here. Damian Priest and LA Knight versus Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa is official for SmackDown next week. All right, that is going to do it for this episode of the Sleeper Sports Media Podcast SmackDown review from May 3rd, 2025. Last night's SmackDown, May 2nd, live from Des Moines. We got SmackDown next week live from Dayton, Ohio. And just final thoughts, SmackDown has set the tone officially for Backlash, and we still hopefully can have a couple more matches. I don't really like who is in the number one contenders match for Tiffy's title. I still think it should be Jade and Naomi in their second match going for that title. Unless Jade does win and beat Nia, and then Jade takes the title off of Tiffy, and then we have Naomi and Jade continuing to feud for the title, alongside throwing Bianca Belair back into the mix. Although I just remembered why she wasn't on the show. She does have some broken fingers, so that does make sense. But once again, it also makes sense to subscribe to Sleeper Sports Media on YouTube. While you're over there, jump to TikTok, Facebook, and also Patreon. And while you're at it, big shout out to NoDirtSheets.com. Go over there for all articles, my side, London side, everything wrestling you could ever imagine is on NoDirtSheets.com and on London's YouTube channel over there to stay informed and stay away from those dirt sheets. Thank you again for watching, viewing. Leave a comment, subscribe, leave a like, share, all that good stuff. For Sleeper Sports Media, in correspondence with No Dirt Sheets, I'm Nick Weitoish. We'll see you next Monday. Here we go.